our Tremolo series.
In this series, we're going to share with you tremolo pedals by some of our favorite manufacturers.
Thanks for joining us. Today we're looking at the Chicken Quiff by Pedal Pawn. It is a tremolo pedal with a cool looking chicken with a quiff coming out that I didn't check my hair in the mirror before. I could be quiffing as well.
Right. So, from Pedal Pawn, and first time we've had a Pedal Pawn pedal on the channel, which I'm really happy about. Big shout out to them for helping us out to get this in. They have some cool pedals.
Yeah.
You know, they have their vibe pedal and like a fuzz and couple other things that are really cool. We were excited to get this one in because it's based on Pat's favorite pedal.
It's based on this one, which started us down the whole Tremolo series path in the first place. I was fortunate enough to get one of these directly from Cesar while he was still alive. Myself, I got one from my friend Brody. And it has been the gold standard of tremolos, which is the reason we're doing this series. Try not to talk about it too much during this episode, but they're talking about how this has some characteristics of it. And we'll get into it, but the rate and the dwell have very different parameters than the Diaz one. So there's sounds and feels that you can get out of that you necessarily can't get out of this. So I think maybe that's all I'm going to say about that.
He's jumping
that's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, jumping into it. Let's talk about it real quick. We have a rate, speed, dwell, depth, and we have a switch that goes from, like, we'll double your speed or half your speed.
Right.
When Pedal Pawn sent this over, they said, hey, look, it's based on the Tremodillo, but on the dwell, we thought we could extend the usable range of that knob a little bit. So they've tried to extend the usable range of that knob a little bit. Their rate, they said, can get a little bit slower, can get a little bit faster. And because of that, there's not, like you said, the parameters act a little bit differently than maybe the Tremodillo. Sound-wise, though...
Sounds great.
Sounds good. Since this is a pedal that you've had a lot of experience with, like, and when I say a lot of experience, like, before YouTube was a thing for us, you know, you had this pedal on your board for probably
20 years.
Right. So, I mean, this is like Pat's go-to was, you know, before we did 150 different tremolo pedals. This was always the go-to one. Why don't you just take it for a spin?
Yeah. So the Revolta Mondata 8 through the Tyler JT22. All the pickups on because I can.
I'm just gonna. We haven't had that guitar off the wall in a while, and I'm just gonna say it. That guitar through Tyler sounds good.
Yeah.
So let's hit it with the Chicken Quiff.
They look good too. It sounds really warm.
There's I think it's a mental thing with us. It's kind of like the magic diode thing in the Klon. I don't know. Like we have this like feeling. We feel like this pedal, and we were talking about something I couldn't remember what I wanted to say earlier. This was it. That this pedal has like a warmth to it that you don't find in every tremolo.
Right.
And we have done so many tremolos now. I'm not sure what it is. It's not hundreds, but it's somewhere between 35 and 50 probably. There are some that just do the tremolo thing. It's an amplitude, especially the amplitude tremolo thing. That's what it is. Volume drops, volume comes back. that are pretty kind of like a sterile volume drop and come back. Some of them do that and then have like some really crazy features built into the pedal that make that, even though that is kind of, I hate to use the word sterile, but maybe kind of sterile or not warm, those features allow you to do some really cool stuff that you wouldn't
with
be able
other
to.
settings that might not be in a classic amp style tremolo.
Right. This is more the blackface Fender style tremolo. We think there's a warmth there. There's like a warmth there that you don't find in every tremolo pedal.
The way I try to describe it to people, for those of you back in the day, if you had a sound system or acoustic guitar and you had a sonic maximizer like a BBE, and you're talking or strum through an acoustic guitar, and then you push the button on the BBE, you're like, ooh, what's that? I could never explain what it did, but that's kind of what these pedals do. Like, you turn it on, you're like, oh, that just warmed everything up, and don't ask me to explain how it does it, but it brings a warmth to the whole party.
So, if we jump into the dwell knob, what we've kind of noticed is once you get to about 10 o'clock, from like off to 10 o'clock, we don't hear a lot of change.
Subtle, very subtle.
And we've even been like, are we hearing that warmth when we click it on? We're not sure. Is there that non-perceived movement behind it that's kind of warming it up, but we don't really perceive the actual tremolo effect? Once you bump above 10 o'clock a little bit, then it starts to kick in.
Right.
And I think you were talking about this. If you have the speed lower, I think you hear it a little bit faster than you do if you have the speed faster. Mm-hmm. So let's run the dwell knob. Are you all right with that slow speed, or you want it a little faster?
Figure it out. I'm going to strum through a chord.
Let me give you just a little bit more. Right there, it's like 10 o'clock speed. If you just strum a chord and hold it one time. I mean, you can hear it in there, but if you strum that chord and hold it and I click it on and off, you can hear it. You can hear that warmth I think we're talking about. At least in the room you can hear it. Try that one. I mean, you want to try that once? I feel like you hear it.
I think so too, and I think what it does to maybe the high end. I could be wrong, but when you strum through those last two, the B and E notes that are higher pitched with it off, they're not terrible, but they're more shrill. Shrill might be a rough explanation, but when you turn that on, it just kind of
Smooths it out.
Yeah. It's like a perfectly toasted marshmallow. I'll give you a minute.
All right, so let's jump into the rate knob real quick. And to do this, I'm going to leave it on the faster of the two. Which is, actually no, let's go to the slow. We'll do the slow and then click it over.
Okay.
So we have this switch. I guess we'll hit both with one shot. You have the speed switch, which will double the rate.
Yeah, either doubles or divides, depends on which one you're on.
Which one you're on. I'm going to turn the dwell up pretty high.
Yeah.
We're going to turn it all the way down. And then we'll just do a couple, just to give you an idea of the range, and just like a strum so you can hear it, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. There you go. It's probably hard to see if the slowest fast is if the fastest slow is the slowest
that's what
fast.
I was trying
it's hard
right there
because
at
it
the
takes a
end.
second to switch, but anyway.
And it sounded like the fastest slow is a little bit slower than the slowest fast, if that makes sense.
There'll be a quiz later. Who's on first?
Right. One thing I've noticed, and this is interesting, if the reason we put the dwell up pretty high, and we can show this really quick, we'll leave the dwell up high, and I'm going to go to the fastest setting. And as you play, roll the dwell back. We're going to put it all the way up, and then we'll roll it back.
Okay.
And that's like at noon, right?
Yeah, so you didn't get all right, and it just kind of disappears.
Right. So when you're picking how fast you want it and stuff, and you were talking about this too, especially like when you're switching back and forth.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the dwell has to be a little more juiced on whatever fast sound I want to use. Because if I set my slow first and I get the dwell to where it sounds about like where I normally do it, and then I click over, I feel like I got to bump the dwell up because they really are interrelated and they don't really start until afternoon.
Right.
Basically, right?
And it's because of the way the sine wave is
Yeah.
and how classes, like when you make them fast, how far you put them together. If you knock the dwell up, it's probably making those peaks a little narrow or something.
And to be fair, this is all about how I would use my Diaz. What I'm used to, the way I set it. I could get there with that. I just have to know that like that dwell with the rate is very intertwined.
Yeah. And very cool.
Mm-hmm. It's a great sounding pedal.
It's just a great sounding tremolo.
It is.
And they talk about it a little bit in their copy that comes with the beautiful box and bag and stuff that comes in, which I guess we probably should have shown, but because Tone is in the box.
It's a word on the street.
They talk about, like, the Tremodillo is hard to get. And we've talked about it. Like, I put it in my reverb feed a long time ago. And somebody found a bunch of old new stock ones. And, like, in boxes, they're trying to sell them for like $8,000 to $1,000.
Right.
I'm going to buy the pedal pawn.
Exactly. And be happy.
Right. And be really, really happy. Great sounding tremolo. Sometimes less is more. Rate and dwell.
Yep.
A fast and a slow switch to switch back and forth, which I think is absolutely brilliant. I think that's it. Anything else to add?
No, it's great. I mean, I love it. It's got I think we've used the word warmth. They'll probably do a stroke count of how many times we said warm or warmth. It's very warm. It has a lot of control. and I love the cut switch. It's great. It's something. It's familiar territory for me with some extra.
Yeah. So with that, always like to take a minute just to thank you for watching, clicking the subscribe button, hitting the notification bell. Leaving comments. Anytime you interact with the show, it really helps us out. Helps us keep doing this, bringing cool stuff in, keep adding to these series, the never-ending series. Pat, we're done with Tremolos. I got 5 more.
Right. I'm okay with that.
Kind of thing. So I think with that...
I'm PJ on behalf of the Beard, reminding no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear.
That's it, right?
It is, unless we want to tell them that we messed up and this is a week later and it's still a great sounding pedal.